The land of the pharaohs has fascinated us for centuries. Every year, Egyptologists and locals discover incredible relics and artifacts, giving us an insight into their history and way of life. Every so often, though, mysterious artifacts emerge that create interesting discussions. Someone recently sent me this video of a strange Egyptian artifact. They were not able to find out much information about it, but said that their friend showed them the video, and that it appeared to have 3D technology. The man also explained how various Egyptian artifacts have been found over the years, and most of these get hidden away. He said that he remembered being shown a giant finger that was collected by a local robber. The man panicked and tried to give this thing away. It was then reported that 2 men approached him and asked him where he was keeping it. Shortly after this, the robber was never seen again. The man who sent me the email said that many of these strange artifacts don't get shared with scientists, as they say they soon go missing and that they're never seen again. Not many people have seen this video, but those who have said it's interesting. Some have theorized that it could be a modern recreation, but just looking at the video, the artifact does look old, and it also has the nose missing, which is consistent with other Egyptian discoveries. When it was shared to online groups, those who saw the video were impressed, with one user saying the following: "I've been to Egypt and there's just something about it that doesn't feel right. I remember being on a tour and they told us how the structures were made, but to me it just doesn't add up. I feel like there's a huge chunk of history we're not being told about, and it's frustrating because we have the evidence right in front of our eyes. Yet it seems that historians and archaeologists don't want to look at alternative theories to try and explain these things. To me this looks ancient, and after speaking to locals it seems that a lot of these have been deliberately hidden from us. It looks incredible." End quote. While another user said the following: There's always the possibility that these things are faked, but how would one even go about doing this? This thing is amazing." End quote. While one person wasn't buying it and said the following: "These things are easy to make. I can't do them myself, but I think others can. To me it looks like an inverted Egyptian sculpture." End quote. Out of interest, I did go online to see if I could find more information or even find one of these things. After looking for inverted Egyptian sculptures, nothing came up. I couldn't find anything similar to this that would suggest they were being mass-produced and sold to tourists. That doesn't mean it proves that it's genuine, I just couldn't find anything similar. As of right now, people are still debating whether this artifact is the real deal. Another interesting recent discovery is that of the nonsense hieroglyphs. For decades, a group of Polish archaeologists has been working to excavate the Saqqara necropolis. This necropolis was in the ancient capital of Memphis. Inside is filled with ornate tombs, obvious that this particular necropolis was reserved for royalty. Nearby, in a dig taking place in September of 2018, Egyptologists were working in an area between the Pyramid of Djoser, the oldest pyramid in the world, and the dry moat, a rectangular ditch surrounding the pyramid. It was here they discovered something out of the ordinary. When tombs of royalty or other important people are uncovered, they are often filled with grave goods symbolizing their importance. Some are even labeled with hieroglyphics. Modern hieroglyphics had been around since roughly the 32nd century BC, with the first full sentences appearing in the 20th century BC. The written language consists of over 1,000 distinct characters. With this ancient language unlocked, researchers can decipher all kinds of things about the tombs they decorate, including who they belong to. That was until the dig near the Pyramid of Djoser. Here the team found roughly 500 simple burials. These burials were simple, and in no way as neatly done as those of the royals. One could even call them clumsy. It's thought this could have been a burial site for the working or middle class people. The team went on to say that the embalming was very basic, and that the bodies were placed directly into pits in the sand, or into now much decayed wooden coffins. Although the coffins had much damage and were often found empty from looters, one coffin remained intact enough for the team to study. On the lid, where the name of the deceased would often go, were what is best to be referred to as imitation hieroglyphics. They didn't make one bit of sense. The researchers believed that possibly the painter was illiterate and simply tried to recreate glyphs they'd seen before. Furthermore, figures of Anubis, guardian of the underworld, were painted blue instead of as usual black. They described the coffin as beautifully clumsy. Some believe that although the burials are simple, and nowhere near as grand as the royals, it shows that everyday people still practice the same funeral practices, or even that the funerals of the royals were mimicked without pure understanding. The mummification and burial process held great religious beliefs in the Egyptian culture. Great tombs and burials aided at supplying a glorious afterlife. Maybe this was just one person's go at giving their loved ones one chance at having one as well. It's no secret that the CIA has conducted a variety of experiments, many of which have been released through certain networks and channels. In the pursuit of knowledge, scientists and researchers have been known to push the boundaries of ethical thinking for the sake of medical and technological breakthroughs that could help change the world, either for the better or the worse. However, when such unethical experiments are being conducted right under your nose, at private institutions and universities all across the United States, It makes you wonder what else these people are getting up to. The Central Intelligence Agency has a long history of ties to illegal activity, morally questionable decisions and dark experimentation that seems to border on the insane. Regardless of their actions, it seems that nearly every new declassified document seems to uncover more and more impossible to explain, or even worse, impossible to justify experiments that continue to bring to light just how far the CIA is willing to go to gather their intelligence. One of their less extreme files revealed that the US agency was interested in the mysterious Mount Ararat anomaly. This was after a spy plane took several photographs of a patch of ice on the mountain. It was first spotted during 1949 while the United States Air Force was doing a flyover, and at the time it was labelled a secret. The CIA would go on to investigate this anomaly for the next few years, with some documents suggesting that they couldn't come to a conclusive answer for what the object was. The document was called Noah's Ark and Mount Ararat, and it shows that the Central Intelligence Agency did investigate the structure, and whether or not it was perhaps the smoking evidence that would prove that the Bible was real. Documents revealed the following. The CIA has a thick case file on the Ararat anomaly. Over 20 years numerous photos were taken, all to be classified as top secret. End quote. The files were gathered back in 2006 by Professor Porcher Taylor, who submitted a Freedom of Information Act request. He said the following to Space.com. I've got a newfound optimism as far as my continuing push to have the intelligence community declassify some of the more definitive type imagery. I'm calling it my satellite archaeological project. I maintain that if it is the remains of something man-made, and potentially nautical, then it's potentially something of biblical proportions. End quote. The CIA though have said it's nothing of interest, and people should trust their comments, saying that all it shows is glacier ice underlaying more recently accumulated ice and snow. Not everyone believes these comments though, saying that they don't have a great track history of telling the truth, and they don't have the public's best interest. Other researchers have come forward in recent years to back up the theory that Noah's Ark along with the flood did happen. Noah's Ark is a story that many of us have heard. It details the story of Noah, of whom was given the task of building a massive boat, and placing on it examples of the world's animals. Interestingly, in recent years a few researchers have come forward and said that at one point in time a great flood did happen. Recent discoveries by underwater archaeologists suggest this event ended up sinking many cities. One such finding was made off the coast of Turkey, where researchers found traces of ancient civilizations dating back since the time of Noah. One thing that's interesting is many civilizations talk about a great flood, and some of these are even documented. Some scientists don't actually doubt that this happened, but have suggested it may not have been as massive as made out. For example, one theory is that the Great Flood could have been the flooding of the Black Sea, and researchers have said that rising water levels happened in this region around 7,000 years ago. Again, scientists know that there was an event that sank cities. After all, several underwater ancient cities have been discovered in recent years. It's the magnitude of the event that people can't seem to agree on. Various other images have been taken of the area, helping to fuel theories that more work is needed to be done in order to find out what this thing is. There's said to be various sites on Mount Ararat where the structure can be found, and this has caused some to say that there could have been several boats. The idea behind these claims is that believers think the boat could have somehow survived on the mountain, with some theories suggesting that the climate of the mountain helped maintain some of its original shape. Whether Noah's Ark is ever going to be found we don't know, but it's important to mention that Mount Ararat rests upon volcanic strata. Mount Ararat is known as a stratovolcano. A stratovolcano is a large conical-shaped volcano that's made up of one layer of hardened lava and volcanic ash. The area is actually made up of two stratovolcanoes. These are known as the Greater Ararat and the Lesser Ararat. It's also the Greater Ararat's massive size that poses an issue for the arc theory. It sits at a height of over 16,000 feet. Researchers have said that even if the Great Flood was true, there's not enough water that could rise to this level. The next problem is that an eruption happened in 1840, covering the mountain and surrounding area in volcanic ash. The next thing researchers said is how would a wooden structure be able to survive this? It would have been immediately destroyed upon impact, and that's if the structure was even there in the first place. Some have said it's obvious that we're never going to find Noah's Ark on this mountain. These same people state it's also very much possible that Noah's Ark will never be found at all. However, some believers have said the eruption may have somehow missed the structure, and that it's still sitting on the mountain. A team of researchers even came forward and claimed they had found solid proof of the structure, and this came in the form of wood found inside the anomaly. They claim that this was part of the original structure, and say that this is proof that the story is fact. It was discovered by a 15-member team, and they claim that radiocarbon dating proved this wood is over 4,800 years old. NASA's International Space Station is one of the most impressive structures we put in space. The cameras that are attached to the ISS are constantly streaming, allowing anyone to view the incredible sights that it beams back to us. The International Space Station has 4 high-definition cameras, and on NASA's websites there's live cameras that allow you to watch what's going on above our planet. Interestingly though, during some of these viewers have noticed some odd things. The most recent discovery is that of a strange-looking object that was picked up by one of the cameras. As with most of these types of images, they usually end up on social media. The user who posted this one said they captured the photograph earlier today. They said the following: "I'm not sure if anyone else was watching the space cameras earlier today, but if they were, did they see this thing? I saw it come into view for around 10 seconds, and then fly out of frame. The ISS travels fast, so I wasn't able to observe it for long. I quickly saw it and so took a screenshot. I'm not saying that it's anything of interest, but I thought I'd post it and see if anyone saw the same thing." End quote. Before I carry on, NASA have said the space above our planet is littered with debris, and that sometimes when the International Space Station passes above us, these pieces of debris get picked up on. It doesn't mean it explains everything picked up by the ISS, but it's something to keep in mind. As pointed out by those who saw the image, this doesn't look like a typical piece of space debris. Some users even went on to say that this object looks like the mysterious Oumuamua, a strange space object that was detected flying through our solar system back in 2017. Interestingly, this isn't the first time that an object this shape has been seen close to the International Space Station. Others who often watch the live feeds have said they've seen similar looking objects, and say that they never seem to stick around for too long. Skeptics have suggested that these objects could be things like old rocket boosters, or other things of similar shape, and although this is a good suggestion, as some have pointed out, these types of objects don't seem to act like pieces of debris, with some noticing that they can turn and move in the opposite direction to other pieces of debris. Another person said the following: "I sometimes go on and watch the International Space Station, and you do sometimes see things flicker by. One of the things I've noticed is that you can very quickly tell the difference between a piece of space debris and one of these objects. That's not to say that these objects are proof of aliens, but I do find it funny when debris is put forward as the leading theory as to what these objects are. That's definitely not what people are seeing here. These objects are able to move very quickly, flying down towards Earth and in some cases shooting off into the cosmos. I'm not here to convince people, but I think we should stop labeling these as debris." End quote. As of right now, what these objects are and how they're able to do what they do is still heavily debated. It seems that the International Space Station is no stranger to odd events. Perhaps one of the most chilling was that of the water build-up incident. Described as one of the most unexplainable circumstances is that of the water build-up incident that happened during a routine spacewalk on the International Space Station. Back in July 2013, American astronaut Chris Cassidy and Italian astronaut Luca Parmitano were performing a 6-hour and 50-minute planned spacewalk, when suddenly Parmitano told the astronauts and other space agencies that it felt as if the back of his head had just suddenly become wet. Understanding the dangers of water buildup on the inside of a suit during a spacewalk, Parmitano quickly tried to address and solve the issue in the hopes of the event not compromising the spacewalk that the team had just started an hour prior. Luca believed that his drink bag had possibly sprung a leak and was the main cause of the water buildup, and so quickly responded by removing and getting rid of his drink to solve the issue. Oddly enough, it appeared that water continued to build up inside the suit. The dangers with water in space is that, unlike on Earth, the surface tension of the water causes the compound to build up on the side of the surfaces, and could potentially cover the entire face of the person, preventing them from breathing. The flight director, David Korff, immediately began to worry, after Parmitano claimed the water buildup had suddenly begun covering his ears, making it next to impossible to hear over the helmet's intercom systems. This led to the astronaut being told to find his way back to the airlock door, and to enter and stay inside the International Space Station until the cause of the leak could be better understood. This proved to be a problem as the water began covering the eyes of the astronaut. He also had no tether to find his way back to the airlock, so he was essentially blind. Luckily, the astronauts are already trained in such incidents, and are well aware of the ledges and ladders to grab onto. Further investigation into what could have potentially caused the build-up failed to bring up any real answers. The drink bag turned out to not be the cause, and engineers failed to find any evidence of any of the cooling systems malfunctioning. A few causes were suggested, but it just highlights how unpredictable these spacewalks can be. So what do you make of this interesting photograph? What do you think these things are? And have any of you seen anything similar? Be sure to leave your questions and answers in the comment section below, and help us to grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.